She was just reaching for a glass of juice, unaware that a single sip could have ended her life. The mansion around her gleamed with luxury, but beneath its polished surfaces, secrets festered. Secrets no one wanted uncovered. In that instant, a voice screamed, shattering the silence and changing everything. Who would dare defy the powerful, and what truths were hidden behind the smiles of the wealthy? This isn't just a story about privilege. It's a story about courage, injustice, and a quiet hero who saw what everyone else refused to notice. Mariah Lewis had spent the past 2 years navigating the grandeur of the Davenport mansion with practiced invisibility. As the family's black nanny, she was expected to serve, observe, and never speak out of turn, roles she performed flawlessly. The sprawling estate gleamed with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and art that cost more than some people earned in a lifetime. The Davenports, Thomas, the formidable patriarch and self-made millionaire, Margaret, a socialite obsessed with appearances, and Chloe, their 16-year-old daughter, pampered and naive, lived a life most could only dream of. Despite the glittering facade, Mariah had noticed cracks beneath the perfection, whispered arguments behind closed doors, subtle manipulations, and a sense of coldness that went beyond ordinary family squabbles. Margaret's sharp glances at staff, Thomas's curt instructions, and Chloe's obliviousness painted a picture of privilege blind to morality. Mariah's sharp eyes caught details others ignored. Odd receipts, hushed phone calls late at night, and small tensions that suggested that loyalty and obedience could be weaponized. Chloe, bright and curious, often lingered near Mariah, oblivious to the unspoken hierarchy. She saw Mariah as a gentle guide, someone who had quietly protected her through minor mishaps, but she could not comprehend the depth of the dangers around her. Mariah, in turn, observed Chloe not just as her charge, but as someone whose life could be threatened by the very people who claimed to care for her. The mansion, with all its wealth and elegance, was a gilded cage. It was a place where appearances mattered more than truth, where influence could silence right and wrong, and where a single misstep could cost someone their life. As the morning sun spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Mariah prepared for another day of silent vigilance. She could feel it in her bones. Something was about to happen, something that would force her out of the shadows and into the center of a perilous storm. The glass of juice sitting on the kitchen counter was nothing more than an ordinary drink to the untrained eye. But to Mariah, it radiated danger, and she knew that the events of that day would change everything. The morning in the Davenport mansion began like any other, but Mariah sensed an uneasy tension in the air. Chloe, humming softly, reached for a glass of juice, unaware that a single sip could change everything. Mariah's heart lurched as her instincts screamed danger. The liquid shimmered unnaturally in the sunlight, tiny crystals glinting at the bottom of the glass. She knew, without a doubt, that something was terribly wrong. Margaret Davenport stormed into the kitchen the moment Mariah lunged to knock the glass away. "How dare you touch my daughter?" she yelled, her voice sharp as broken glass. The rich scent of Italian leather from the sofa filled the room, a sofa worth more than a luxury car, now at risk from Mariah's sudden motion. Thomas Davenport followed, his face a mask of irritation, prepared to side with his wife. But when he looked into Mariah's eyes, he saw something different: urgency, fear, and undeniable conviction. Mariah explained, calmly yet insistently, that the juice smelled bitter and that she could see the tiny crystals settled at the bottom. Her warning was met with disbelief. How could a nanny, a black woman in a household that never truly saw her, know better than the family matriarch? Yet before anyone could dismiss her entirely, a private toxicologist arrived, summoned in a flurry of panic. Within minutes, the verdict was confirmed. The juice contained digitalis, a plant-derived poison potent enough to kill. The revelation hit the Davenports like a hammer. Shock turned to confusion, then to blame. All eyes turned to Agatha Davenport, the 82-year-old family matriarch. She had prepared the drink herself, a chilling act that sent a wave of fear through the mansion. Mariah's mind raced, recalling subtle signs she had noticed over the years. Agatha's icy disdain, secretive meetings with the family lawyer, whispers about discontented relatives. Everything suddenly connected. The danger had not come from an outside intruder, but from the very heart of the family. Even as Chloe struggled to comprehend the near-death experience, Agatha began a subtle campaign to discredit Mariah. Half the household was swayed to see the nanny as unstable, potentially manipulative. Margaret's distrust flared, ready to believe the worst about someone who dared challenge her family. Thomas, caught between loyalty to his daughter and pressure from his wife, commissioned a private investigator to dig into Mariah's past. The world, it seemed, was poised to turn against her. Yet Mariah's calm resolve remained unshaken. Years of careful observation had taught her patience, the power of invisibility, and the advantage of being underestimated. Her photographic memory had catalogued every suspicious conversation, every hidden transaction, and every secret that pulsed beneath the mansion's glittering surface. Offshore accounts, falsified medical records, whispered land deals. She had seen it all. Now, with Chloe's life hanging by a thread and the family's trust shaken, Mariah realized the stakes had escalated beyond fear. She was holding the keys to exposing a network of corruption that threatened lives far beyond the mansion walls. But just as she began to plan her next move, a chilling thought struck her. The Davenports were powerful, well-connected, and ruthless. How long would it take before they tried to silence her completely? Mariah understood that the coming hours would test her courage, intelligence, and resilience like never before. Every decision, every observation, could be the difference between justice and disaster. Night had fallen over the Davenport mansion, but the darkness inside the house was far heavier than any shadow outside. Mariah sat alone, reviewing her meticulously compiled notes. 42 pages of secrets, conversations, and hidden transactions. Her pulse steady but her mind racing. Every whisper she had overheard, every document she had memorized, pointed to a terrifying truth. The family she served was capable of unspeakable crimes, and now they were trying to turn the world against her. The phone rang. On the line, Agatha's frail voice twisted into something cold and menacing. She suggested, almost sweetly, that Mariah leave quietly, hinting that she knew everything but promising safety if she vanished. Mariah's fingers tightened around the papers. She could almost see the pattern of deception woven through decades of wealth, prejudice, and entitlement. Every lie, every act of cruelty, every attempt to discredit her, the full weight of the Davenport's arrogance pressed on her chest. The next morning, the storm hit. 2 private detectives arrived with subpoenas, accusing her of extortion and invasion of privacy. Powerful lawyers shadowed them, and whispers of scandal spread faster than wildfire. Mariah's world collapsed. The mansion she had served, the family she had protected, now turned into instruments of her isolation. Chloe, the very girl whose life she had saved, walked past her in public as if she were a stranger. Calls went unanswered. Job interviews vanished. Anonymous messages attacked her character. It seemed impossible. After all she had done, after all she had saved, the world was ready to believe the lies. Yet, in the midst of betrayal, a spark ignited. Marcus Caldwell, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, reached out, confirming that the corruption Mariah had documented aligned with an ongoing federal investigation. Every secret, every shady account, every falsified medical record suddenly mattered. Mariah realized the truth. She was no longer alone, and the power she had quietly gathered over 2 years could now be wielded to expose the very people who had underestimated her for decades. She looked at the stack of evidence, the life she had saved, and the dangerous path ahead. One decision could change everything, either silence her or shatter the empire that had thrived on privilege and prejudice. The mansion's walls, once a place of servitude, now held the possibility of justice. Mariah took a deep breath, knowing the next move would determine not just her fate, but the fate of everyone the Davenports had harmed. By dawn, the Davenport mansion was no longer a symbol of untouchable privilege. Federal agents moved through its halls, confiscating documents, securing evidence, and arresting Thomas, Agatha, and Margaret Davenport. The empire built on greed, secrecy, and abuse began to crumble before the nation's eyes. Mariah, once invisible and dismissed, watched as truth overtook power, her quiet courage reshaping the destiny of a family that had underestimated her for decades. Chloe, ashamed but determined, revealed the troves of hidden evidence she had secretly collected over 2 years. Documents, recordings, and digital files that exposed the family's corruption, embezzlement, and even organ trafficking. The revelations shocked the country, sending the Davenport Corporation's stock plummeting and dismantling an intricate network of crime. Mariah's painstaking observations and perseverance had become the fulcrum of justice. She was no longer just a nanny. She was a hero whose bravery saved lives and exposed systemic wrongdoing. In the weeks that followed, Mariah received national recognition, awards for civil courage, and opportunities that once seemed impossible. But more importantly, her actions sparked systemic change. Hospitals instituted safe reporting protocols, and whistleblowers found a voice where they had been silenced. Chloe became an advocate for employee protection, inspired by the woman who had seen what others refused to acknowledge. Mariah's story reminds us that invisibility is not weakness. It is often a vantage point, where observation, patience, and courage can dismantle corruption and confront injustice. Her triumph is not just personal. It reflects a larger truth about resilience, moral clarity, and the power that society often overlooks. The question lingers: how many Mariah Lewises are out there, quietly watching, silently knowing, waiting for the moment to challenge injustice? And how long will the world continue to ignore them until their courage reshapes the course of history? What would you have done if you were in Mariah's place? Risk everything to expose the truth or stay silent in fear? Do you think courage and patience can really overcome privilege and injustice? If this story moved you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of courage and justice. Share your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take on Mariah's bravery